So when I'm sewing projects, it's important to me that what I'm sewing is no waste or minimal waste sewing projects. So because of that, the majority of the skirts that I have made or that are even in my closet, they aren't even circle skirts, they are rectangle skirts. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Essentially, this is almost all the skirts in my closet. There's next to no waste with a project like this. I just have the rectangles of fabric, and then out of the excess, I can cut a waistband and pockets, and then I might even have a little bit left over for patches for something else, but next to no waste. However, this means that the entire length of the skirt is gathered into the waistband, and that can make for a little bit more of a bunchy waist, which I don't mind because I really like how a super tight gathered waist looks. But I'm so excited. I actually found some beautiful linens secondhand. Let me see. Okay. Let me see. Which one? And I think for maximum swishability, I want to try something a little different. So here's what I want to try instead. I want to take the length of fabric, and instead of just gathering it here and making that the waistband, I think I want to actually create panels instead for this project. So if I was going to instead, and you kind of get the idea, but then flipping these panels to where the narrow part is the waist, I think that will make for more swishability. I just need to figure out how many panels I can get and still have the waist be the size that I need. I don't know. Let's play with it.
So in order to determine exactly how many panels I can get from my piece of fabric, I need to know what my waist needs to be at the widest point so that I can slip the garment on and off. I know I'm going to use elastic in the back of the skirt. But yeah, I needed to know my waist point to know how large the garment needed to be at its fullest stretch. So when I make garments, I often pattern them off of clothing pieces I already own, and I use this brown paper to trace the garment I already have. So I thought maybe I could create a panel out of this brown paper to kind of pattern along my fabric. I don't know how successful we were. I'm sure you might already be able to tell the hiccup that I ran into. Uh, but essentially, I needed to do more math around the piece of fabric as a whole to know how much I could fit in. So instead, I laid out the fabric, and I actually ended up folding the fabric in thirds so that I could get more panels that way because of the grain line I wanted. Um, but then was able to lay it out and measure it. And I actually ended up getting, I think, 7 panels. Um, oh, no, wait, I think I definitely did 5. And then the edges were an additional panel as well. Because there are 3 layers of fabric that I'm cutting through here. So I ultimately just had to measure to make sure that the waist was going to be the final measurement that I needed. And then the bottom, like the angles of the panels, were determined simply by how sharp I could make them while still maintaining the waist measurement I needed. I hope that makes sense. Now, something that I realized would definitely happen in patterning the garment this way is that I'm not rounding the bottom in the same way that you would see with a circle skirt. Because again, it's important to me that this is a low waist or even if I can, no waist project. So rounding out the bottom hem would give me waist that I'm looking to avoid. So I know that even though these panels are not super sharp angled, I'm going to have more of a handkerchief hem than I would otherwise if I was making a traditional circle skirt. So yeah, I ended up with the one panel on the side I was able to make a waistband and pockets out of. And how I make the waistbands is I kind of make really, really thick bias tape from the fabric that I'm using in the skirt. And you can see here how I've chosen to iron it so that I can use it as that front waistband panel.
So I'm realizing that one of the biggest reasons why I haven't ever taken long form videos and shown every single part of my creative process is because I am a parent and I am constantly interrupted, and there's no way I can actually have the luxury to sit down and film and show you everything I'm making. But here we go.
We are sewing in the dark. Because the times when I can create are the times that are not always the best to film. Because I don't have natural light in the evenings, but that's when I have time. I did actually end up getting a good amount of these panels sewn together this evening, and hopefully I can pick it up the next day.
Day 2 of sewing, I got quite a bit done, but I think I decided at the last minute that I do want pockets on both sides of the skirt. So I'm going to sew in I'm going to undo one side and sew in another pocket. And I got 5 panels in total. So I'm hoping that that makes it wide enough and swishable enough for the skirt feel I'm hoping for.
Okay, there you go. 5 panels. Um, so here I am kind of putting in another pocket and the waistband. I can't remember if I've explained how I do my waistbands, but basically, whatever I know is going to be the front of the skirt, I gather that front and then I take that really thick bias tape and sew it down around whatever I have gathered. And I use that bias tape as my front waist measurement because I've already measured that. So yeah, here I am just pinning it so that I can sew this bias tape around that front piece that I've gathered. And then I create a tube, as you can see here, in the back of the skirt. Yep, that's the front gathered. And then the back, actually, I put elastic in. So the only part of the garment that's stretchy is actually the back of the garment. But this means I don't have to put a zipper in, and it can be this swishy, lovely thing without having to worry about, and it can kind of change to my body because clothes are meant to fit our body. But yeah, this is what we have. You can see kind of the handkerchief hem. It's actually made with so much less fabric than this traditional rectangle skirt that I make out of bed sheets more often. So I'm really thrilled with this particular outcome. Less fabric, but the same amount of fullness and swishness. So yeah, delighted. And I ended up with just the tiniest piece of fabric left over. So, all in all, I think this was a resounding success. Thanks for sewing along with me, you guys.